I've had a number of requests from knitters who are having a hard time understanding the written instructions for seamless yoke construction from the bottom up. So today I am going to demonstrate for you in something like real time how to do it so you can see it. I'm going to use, for demonstration purposes, this pattern here, which I'm working on. I'm making the smallest size of the Welcome to the Flock cardigan. And I'm going to show you what this row here, where you join the body to the sleeves, looks like. And you understand what to do with those pesky underarm stitches. In seamless bottom-up yoke construction, you've got three pieces. You've got your body, and you've got your two sleeves, and they are all finished and they're all ready to go. They've reached the underarms, and you're going to knit them all together in one magic moment. In a cardigan, in this case, you're going to be starting at the sweater's right front. So if you're wearing it, you're looking at it like this. So you've got it on, you see, and that'll be your sweater. But in this case, since you're knitting it, it's facing you. And you're going to start right here on the right-hand side, and you're going to knit all these guys together. And it's going to look something a little bit like this, because you're going to leave underarm stitches, which are these guys here, on stitch holders, and ignore them until later when you're going to perform the joining of the underarm stitches. But right now you're going to pretend they don't even exist. You're only going to be knitting the stitches that are body and sleeve that are going to be forming your yoke in the very, very near future. And it's going to look something like this. These guys are your underarm stitches. You can see I've got them marked in red. That means you're not knitting them. And so let's pretend they're on the holding yarn. Okay, so I have already got my two puppet sleeves here, this sleeve, and they could see they're already on there holding yarn. And I'm going to put them down here until I'm ready to use them. I'm going to start with my body, which is still a flat piece, little bitty sweater for a little bitty baby. And I'm going to knit across, this is my right side row, I'm going to knit across the front stitches over to the side seam marker, which we will see in a minute. I am a combination knitter, so my stitches might look seated funny to you and my knitting might look funny to you, but it gets the job done. And I'm going over to my first side seam marker, and the pattern says 2 stitches before the 2 stitches. So here I am, 2 stitches before my side seam marker, and I'm going to stop. And I'm going to put the next 4 stitches onto holding yarn, which hopefully I won't drop. And I'm going to then pretend that these don't exist. I'm going to stop here. These stitches no longer interest me, and I'm going to go right to my sleeve stitches. So here's my sleeve, here's my front. I'm going to bridge this gap in one moment, just like this. Body stitch to sleeve stitch. There they are. Now they're joined. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to go across the sleeve stitch. Sleeve stitches, plural. And I'm going to knit to the end of the sleeve. Now I've got this magic looped here because you will find that in any size sweater, be it a baby sweater or an adult sweater, that the first row or so of the yoke join is a little bit tight. It's going to feel like going around the corner, and you just don't really have quite enough space. So I do use second needles to help me get around those corners, even when I do my join, especially when it comes to around the underarms. It's just a little bit snug. So don't worry about that if that's something that happens to you and you think that maybe, gosh, I'm doing something wrong. Okay, so here I've come to the end of my sleeve, and here's the leftover yarn from when I finish the sleeve. And that wonderful yarn, you're going to use that later to do your underarm stitch joining. But right now we're ignoring it. So I'm going to go straight to my back stitches because I've come around from the front of the sleeve, come around to the back of the sleeve, and here I am sleeve back and body back, and I'm just going to bridge those two right there. Now some knitters may find that that little gap there makes them feel a little anxious. You can use a safety pin or a stitch marker to hold those together for a row or two until you feel like you've got enough knitting here built up to make them really stable, but don't worry about it. They'll be fine. Eventually when you come around to closing your underarm stitches, you're going to find that they are really quite well behaved. And now I'm on the other side of the back, and I'm knitting up to the last two stitches before the side seam marker one more time, just like I did before. Take my holding yarn, thread those guys onto my darning needle. And leaving them aside until later. And so I've come across to the back, so now I'm ready for my other sleeve. And here's my other sleeve. Underarm stitch is already on the holding yarn. Bridging the gap with just one little stitch. And police car going by outside. Never a dull day around here. Going around the corner. If you know how to magic loop, you know what I'm doing. If you don't worry about it. I'm not trying to make you anxious. So, finishing up my sleeve stitches. Just knitting them. You can make sense of what I'm doing if you're not a combination knitter or a continental knitter. It's an extra bonus. Look at the way that woman knits. So, that aside. In this case, the side is on the floor. So here I am. I've come around the corner of the sleeve. These are the back stitches, back of the sleeve, around to the front of the sleeve. And here I am on my remaining cardigan front. And I am going to just knit that next stitch and finish knitting the sweater, or this joining row. So this one row makes one piece out of three. If you were knitting a sweater that was a pullover, you would be starting at the back of either one sleeve or the other, and basically doing the same exact thing that I just did, only starting with one sleeve. It's another video, I suppose. So what we have here is one piece. We have the front stitches of the cardigan, the first sleeve all the way around, the back stitches all the way across, joining to the second sleeve all the way around to the join of the cardigan front, and then to the end of the row. Now, you're going to knit a couple more rows before you start the color work, but you're wondering what to do with those underarm stitches. Well, see, here they all are. They're facing each other. They match in the case of this sweater. Sometimes they're one stitch different. But in this case, there's 4 and 4. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be grafting them together, or you can use a 3-needle bind-off by putting this set on one needle and this set on another needle and then doing a 3-needle bind-off. Or you can decide to bind them all off and then sew them. I find that's a little bit bulky, so I try to do grafting as much as possible. But that's for later when you feel that the sweater is stable, or finished for that matter, whenever it is that comes to you. So there you go. The joining row for bottom-up single-piece yoke construction. I used Serdar's Snuggly Double Knitting in this sweater. It's the most lovely artificial baby yarn I've ever run into, and I happen to be a real sucker for the Line Juice color.